what's up, Bootstrappers? This is Ryan Nickel coming at you with another coaching tip. That's right, number 86. All right. If you haven't already seen, we got a lot of coaching tips already in here. We got a day in the life. I think we got 150 of those. We got a couple of motivational Mondays, a couple of flashcard Fridays, and then, of course, coaching tip number 86 coming at you. When negotiating, know your leverage points. All right, so I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about that. I am stopping at a stop sign because there's a car coming. I'm heading on down to go speak at an event with Alexis McGee. I'm going to be sharing some of my skinny deal strategies with her meetup group. What a great group of people she has cultivated over time. She really does know her business, and she definitely attracts a really strong following. Hey, what's going on, Rusty? And if you haven't checked it out already, there's a podcast with Joe Fearless that was released today. And then I also had a lead generation program that I co-created with Hilco Homes. So we got a lot of stuff going on. Got a lot of stuff for the bootstrappers out there. So yeah, plug yourself in any way you can, whether it's free or whether it's paid content. You're going to get what you put into it. So anyway, a little bit about today. So I went and looked at a house today. This was a older home built in the 1900s. I think it was built in 1901, and it had been on the city condemned list. So there's gonna be a lot of tips that I'm just gonna be throwing at you here. So take some good notes. So this house was on the city condemned list, and the city actually published it inside the newspaper. They're like, okay, hey, this is what's going on, and they published it. So I'm like, I got a list of all these houses that are gonna be condemned and or fined for the city to come and to put a chain link fence around it, board it up, do all those things. So I'm like, bam, got my list right there. So went to the city or didn't go to the city, but I saw these houses, so I drove around and contacted the owners, or I mailed a postcard to them, and what's up, Clifford? And then they contacted me. I got a lot of responses because, as you can see, they're probably motivated. They're extremely motivated because the city's kind of breathing down their necks. So that was the first step, was one, to have an extremely motivated and targeted list. So I did that, and I mailed out to them, got a great response from that list. So that was tip number one for you guys. Hit motivated, targeted lists. So, and you can find that, shoot, this one was super easy. The city has a list of all the properties that are just, problem childs for them and stuff like that. So did that. So anyway, the second one was this house that we went and saw today. It's an old house, like I said, 1901, and it is, man, there's a lot that can be done to it, but then at the same time, it needs a lot of work. It hasn't been lived in for decades. The church that we're buying it from, they inherited it from a dude that thought he was going to buy it, flip it, and it just needed too many problems. And they've been in and out of contract about 3 or 4 different times, and they need to sell it quick. And it's pretty much, we're buying the lot with this house. But there's some redeeming qualities about this house. What we planned on doing to it is there's 2 existing structures that they put together when they moved it, because they moved it from a previous location. There used to be a school, then a hotel, then all kinds of crazy things. And so we plan on, I think, as it currently stands, it's probably about 5,000 square feet. I have no idea what the rooms are because it's just a hodgepodge. Like at one time it was a school, then a hotel, so you can imagine how many different rooms there are. Hey, what's up, Nicole? And you know what I probably should have done was taken you through a video walkthrough of it, but I didn't, so shame on me. Anyway, so we're basically gonna cut it in half and probably keep it as a 2,000 square foot, 2-story, really nice restored historical home, and do a lot of good with it. But with that being said, we wanted to find out how it was zoned and how the city was going to look at what we were going to do with it, because it's zoned commercial right now and some weird temporary uses that it had been over in the past. So here's tip number 2: do your research. Do your due diligence. So we go down to the city and we talk to the planning department, and it's a small enough town that we meet the head honcho. He comes out and he goes, oh, I've been inside that house a number of times, let me tell you. And he goes on this list, this tirade of how upset he is with this church, that churches shouldn't own real estate and churches shouldn't be practicing real estate, and this church just needs to sell it. In fact, he's trying to make an example out of this church. He told this church that they had until the 17th of this month to get the property sold, or they're going to fine them $4,000 and put up a chain link fence and board up the place and basically just, stick it to them. And so the church is extremely motivated right now. And I found all this information out. I knew that from the pastor of the church, but this guy told me that what he's extremely upset with is that this house was sold in like July. It was sold, but the pastor got greedy because another guy came and was going to offer him $5,000 more for it. So he nixed the first contract to go with the second contract to get more money. And then the guy with the second contract found out that he couldn't do what he wanted to do. He wanted to create a low-income housing or a halfway house or shelter out of the home. And the city's like, no, man, we're not doing that. There's a school around the block. There's a community center. We're not doing that. We're not having homeless people, in this shelter right next to this family-friendly environment. It's like, we're not going to do that. So the second buyer backed out, and the pastor goes back to the first buyer, and the first buyer's like, nah, I changed my mind, I don't want it. So now the city's mad. They're like, look, you had an opportunity, you got greedy, you lost it. So now we're like, well, we got a leverage point. We have the city who's breathing down their neck. We now know that they have to move, and the city's not going to give them any kind of wiggle room on this, that they are going to push. And he's like, I will make an example of it. It's personal now. I'm like, all right. So, we opted. Here's a strategy now. We were going to offer the guy $5,000 less than what he was asking because we know that his back's against the wall. But we didn't want to do that for the sole reason that he can now take our contract in hand and go back to the previous two buyers and try to reel them back in and say, hey, look, I got a lower offer. Why don't you offer me a little bit more and we'll go with you? I don't want that to happen. So offered him exactly what he wanted. But there's a caveat. We have a 15-day window to do our inspections. And what's going to happen during our inspection period? I think we're going to get our $5,000 concession. Because once we're locked in, we're now going against that clock of that that he has to. And the city already gave us, they said, look, as long as you're in contract, we won't impose the fine and the fees and move forward on the 17th of this month. But if you're not in contract, you bet we're going for it. So we're going to use that towards our leverage. Know all your pain points. Know all your negotiation tactics when you're doing this. And so we didn't want to drop the boot right from the get-go. We wanted to be able to get into contract. We wanted to be able to play the game. And once we're in contract, then and only then are we going to come back and get our price concession, because this place it definitely needs a price concession. So a lot of tips we're dropping here for you all. There's a lot to learn when you're out negotiating. The best thing is never to reveal your full hand unless you're forced to. And honestly, you're never forced to. No one ever forces you to reveal your hand. That's just an inexperienced player who doesn't have the gut, doesn't have the stomach to ride it all out, to wait for it, to wait to the optimal time to go ahead and lay your cards out. So anyway, wanted to share that with you. Great opportunity, man. So it's a good opportunity for us. And we went there. So we went there, saw the place, had a contract in hand, went back to the church and said, hey, here's your contract. Now they have some bylaws. So I also knew this as well. There were some bylaws that says the church can't sell a property or can't sell any kind of communal asset without getting the vote of the congregation, which, well, guess what? My contract expires the day they're going to get the congregational vote on Sunday. My contract expires that Monday. So he has to move quick with us or it's not going to be a deal. And right now, we're the only one that he has. We're the bird in the hand. And if the guy tries to go chase, some other birds in the bush, not going to happen, man, because the city already said that they're going to come down on this guy. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. Get out there, make some stuff happen, find some resources, talk to your cities, talk to neighbors. They know all kinds of stuff. In fact, the city official went on and on and on about all these other properties that they have as well that are just kind of like pains in their butts, thorn in their sides. And so we're like, man, this is perfect. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. Keep on going, and just remember, you're one deal away from changing your entire financial future. On this particular deal, the numbers are we're not gonna get rich on it. It's gonna be time intensive, labor intensive. I'm just gonna wholesale this one out. I already got the buyer who walked the property with me. I'll make a quick little nickel on this one, and we'll close here on. We wrote into the contract a 15-day contingency with our inspections, and then on day 17 after the fully executed contract, bam, we're done. I'll walk away with a nice little check, but every $5,000 helps, guys. All right, I'm Ryan Nickel. See you all later.